Oh, do you really? Oh, that's where you do. That's where you were before.
Yeah. Let me. I'm just gonna back this out a little bit, just so it'll be easier here.
Yeah. That's what you need. I'll squeeze. I'll sit with my feet in my face.
That's gonna not be helpful.
No.
But of the Ferraris, which car do you like the most?
I like this because I like driving it. Obviously, the 458 S.p.A is probably the absolute just coolest car they build, just for the simple fact that it's so hardcore. And I like things that are...
Is it a really rough drive?
It's really rough drive, yeah. I mean, it's, you hear every rock pinging, you know.
Yeah, like one of my partners had a 911 for a while, and I drove it several times, but I didn't like it because it was such a rough drive.
Right.
I felt like it would be great if I was, you know, running from the police going 140.
Right.
Taking tight corners, but I didn't feel it would be great just cruising to work.
Exactly.
The T is for what? Turbo, sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Which is this your easiest one to sell?
Yeah, well, just because we get the most volume of this car, you know, that's the tough part with the other ones, is trying to explain to somebody when they come in that, hey, guess what? You know, you're going to be waiting a year or 2 years for a car. I mean, that's a tough prospect.
But that's the mystique of their brand, though.
It is. It really is.
That's awesome that you had to have an application to get that car.
By the Ferrari, I know.
That's
it's
just
kind of amazing.
That's a great story.
You
can scoot back more.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I don't want to kill you. There you go.
Oh, he'll be happy.
Sure.
But yeah, only Ferrari could pull that off. I mean, it's kind of a crazy thing.
Kind of kiss the ring and you can have the car.
Exactly.
Now, there are different levels of the suspension. Can you soften it up?
Yeah. Well, this is its standard right now. And then, like, I just put it on for bumpy road. So this is on for something like this road will be right here.
So this is the softest suspension that it has?
Yeah.
Then when, like, you're on the freeway, you go to, is there a sport suspension?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so there's three.
Through them. Yeah. You can click through them and, you know, pick which one. Plus, then you've also got here on this Manatino, you can pick, you know, comfort for the shifting and stuff, so it's going to shift differently.
Without jerking you around as much? Manatino?
Yeah, they call it the Manatino switch. I don't know where all that stuff comes from necessarily.
It's in Italian. Have you been in the car business your whole career?
I have. I started 20 years ago and I've done several different things. I've left the actual retail side of it several times to, you know, do some other things I did. I was a consultant for a long period of time to car dealers, and then one of my dealers that I ran, or was a consultant to, asked me to run his dealership group for him, and then after that I was out in California, and then my wife's mother got sick and we moved back to Colorado. So I went back into the dealership side of things, and then that's when I picked up the job with Lotus about 6 years ago. And
how long ago did you leave Lotus?
5 months ago.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So just recently.
And this dealership closed for a while, didn't it?
No, this dealership. Well, what happened was it was a different store. It was Grand Prix Imports, and Grand Prix Imports was owned by Mike Warren of Warren Winch. And basically what happened was he needed something as a place to put his toys, and so he bought that building. And then he bought that building, and then it morphed into, well, hey, if I'm going to have my cars here, maybe I should be selling them as well. And so the problem with that is if you've never been in the retail side of the car business, there's so much to learn, and this learning curve is very steep.
Oh, that did not climb
cost a whole lot of money, and it's funny because the people that knew him were like, yeah, I'm really shocked he shut it down. I was like, well, he's losing money. They're like, yeah, but he's so wealthy. And I'm like, that's how wealthy people stay wealthy.
Is they get rid of it when it's...
You get rid of things that aren't costing you too much. I mean, I think he expected a loss because that was the idea behind it, but he didn't expect to lose the massive sums he was losing.
Right.
And so he shut it down, and it was cheaper to let the building just sit there. The Tonkins purchased it about 4 years ago, and then kind of set about the plans of moving the dealership over here. So
Where was it before here?
122nd Avenue in Gresham, where he'd been for 32 years.
But this was just the Maserati, Ferrari.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right across the street from it was the Tonkin Chevrolet store, their Tonkin Honda store, Toyota are all down the road from it as well, over in Gresham. So, but 30 years ago, Gresham was a little bit different place than it is now.
Yeah, slightly.
From what I hear, I haven't lived here that long to know. But... So up here, just around the corner, there's a school office building. We're going to pull in there, and then we'll swap over. Okay.
You still feel your feet, Jared?
Yeah.
So you new to Oregon?
2.5 years ago. I came up here all the time on business with Lotus, fell in love with it, and just we packed up everything and just moved up here.
I grew up in LA, so I've been here for 11 years.
Yeah, it's just such a great area.
Were you in LA when you were in California before?
No, we were in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, the other state.
Yeah, the other state. Yes, because they really do need to split that state in half, because I'm telling you, Northern and Southern California, they're so different.
And even Central, it could be 3 states.
States, yeah. Well, and then you talk
farming.
Central and Eastern, the eastern half of the state with the farming and stuff is so different. It's just a really diverse place.
And it's so funny because we have 2 Virginias,
right,
and 2 Carolinas, and they're tiny.
Right. Okay, so a little bit of instruction here. When you stop, because it's a dual clutch box, basically you pull these in and it'll go to neutral, which you can't see, but it'll go to neutral in there. Then at that point the car is literally in neutral, okay? So in order to park the car, you then have to use the electronic parking brake, which then puts it on hold, so then that way the car won't roll.
Got it. And when you start, you have to do that?
Then, yeah, you have to release the parking brake, which is down here, and then you pull in on one of these to put it into first gear, and then at that point it'll go into auto mode and you can drive it. So
you guys are going to switch.
And it should release. It'll take the hold off. Actually, here. Okay,
Hold
now pull it. There it goes.
So now we're ready to go?
Yep.
It's nice to hear an engine again.
And then Ferrari will not let you do much to the cars, right?
Well, you don't. I mean, it's kind of, let's head back this way. We're going to kind of do it a little bit differently. Ferrari is very funny about...
It's just straight automatic, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to shift.
Does it say auto now?
There you go. It says auto now.
Yeah. Ferrari is owners are very funny about modifying cars. It's
Like they like to do it?
They don't.
Oh.
Lamborghini, the owners tend to modify cars. Ferrari, it's very anti that direction. So, left it.
Okay, so far it drives softer than a Porsche. Meaning it doesn't feel that. Which suspension am I in right now?
This is in, actually it's in sport mode, but bumpy road. There you go, you're in sport. So, yeah, you're not going to get that beat you up suspension out of this car.
Which is great though.
Right, which is what leads you to that whole daily driving thing, that you could use this car every day. And it doesn't have a terrific amount of road noise just cruising along, which is the other thing that's nice, because that's what wears you out, is road noise, with the loud engine all the time.
Yeah. So which cars would have loud engine noise?
Well, like the 458 and stuff like that, they're going to be brutally loud because most of the people put 2B exhausts on them. That's the one thing that they do is change the exhausts out.
Oh, to increase their
the noise and the performance out of it.
Their noise footprint.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness gracious, it feels fantastic, right? I mean, it just feels
Like you're in it.
yeah. Which Tesla's going to somehow have to figure that out.
Yeah, well, because you've got to get people involved in the driving experience. Just driving a toaster doesn't.
Yes. It just feels like everything. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe, but you're just in the car.
Right. It's everything from the shape of the seats to the way they feel. They hug you.
Mm-hmm.
To the dash, how everything's set up, that you feel like you're in a cocoon.
Yep.
We could do a road trip in this car.
We're going to keep going. We're not going to turn off back here again. We're going to keep heading up here a little bit further. So.
You and Jared could go on a road trip if you never want to use your legs again. Sorry about that.
I'm just trying to stay off the freeway right now because I know usually it's actually only 3:30. It seems like it's later. Maybe we'll turn around and head back and go up on the 205 and come around on the 5. Might do that. We'll head up here a little bit and then we'll turn it back and head back.
Oh, there we go. That's the Ferrari sound, right?
Yeah. And the turbo does sound a little bit different just because of the intake than the old V8.
Is that kind of that little bit of a high-pitched,
right?
like a hissing sound?
Hissing sound, yeah, because you're going to get the turbo.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's on top of that
Right.
motor. Yeah, so in between model refresh years, how often do people just come in and go, you know what, I want to get rid of my 15 California and get something else? And
What'll happen a lot of times is, so for example, and I'm going to put this in the most politically correct way possible, to be able to just walk in the dealership and say, hey, I want to put an order down on a 458, probably doesn't happen. What they say, the kind of the rule of thumb is Ferrari likes you to become a client first. So yes, what will happen is a lot of guys will come in and order a 2015 California,
because that's kind of like
the gateway
the rules of the club
to get in. Yes, so
that's
let's take a right
that's
here.
awesome.
And so then what they'll do is they'll say, hey, I ordered that car, now I want to order,
now
that I own my California, and when my 458 comes in, I'm going to bring it back to you on trade, because that's kind of the other rule of the club. Then that way they
wow, that is fast.
then that way they earn the right to order that car.
Okay, that is super awesome though.
Yeah, and so then what happens is that's where you'll see those come in occasionally. Like we just had a 458 that we sold. The reason we were selling the 458 was the guy ordered the 458 and ordered a Spider right after that, the convertible, and the convertible came a lot quicker than he thought it was going to. So he ended up, we got his regular 458 in on consignment.
So it came in and it just stayed with you.
Right. After he'd driven it for 1,000 miles or something like that, his 458.
Oh. But he still had to sell it back to you.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, what he did was he put it on consignment with us. We consider that selling it back to us. You order a new Ferrari. Let's head this way, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go back around and then go back to what's it called, road, and then head out to the 205. One of the things about when you order the new Ferrari that happens is you sign a right of first refusal agreement. Basically, what that means is that you sign an agreement that says if you ever get rid of the car, we have the first right of refusal to buy the car from you.
So why does Ferrari like this? Does that so you can
Stop speculation, because we are not allowed to. And this is the other part that's, again, when you start talking to customers about it, there's no negotiation.
Right.
The cars are sold at MSRP.
Well, of
we
course.
don't charge over MSRP, but we don't discount them off MSRP.
Right.
So basically, because we don't charge over MSRP on the really hot models that are like super fresh, like for example, when the 458 replacement comes out, the first guy that gets that car could theoretically buy that car and then turn it around and spin it for 50 grand over what he paid for it. And so that's why the customer, we have a right of first refusal agreement where basically, you know, the car has to be offered back to us. But Ferrari, if you speculate and do that, I can guarantee you, though, the funny part is it's kind of the joke that you'll never buy another new Ferrari.
Because they won't sell it to you.
They won't sell you another one. So, yeah, Ferrari really doesn't want people, you know, buying a car, and they want people who are going to own the cars and enjoy them and drive them. And they're very blunt about it. I mean,
that's such a cool thing about how well they maintain their brand.
Exactly. So let's take a right here. We'll head back out to Stafford. We'll head out the length of Stafford, and then we'll hop on the 205 real quick, and then come around on the 5.
I think my favorite thing that you've told me so far, you just told me a little bit ago, that people will want to buy a 458, and in order to kind of get into the good graces, they buy a California first, and go, see, I bought one.
I bought something.
I'm nice to it.
Yeah.
You know, here I took good care of it. Now can I please have the next one?
The next one up, yeah.
I mean, it's just never. It's just so funny. That's like the mystique where you have to petition them
to be able to buy something.
To buy something from them.
Isn't it crazy?
Can I please buy from you? I don't know. Come back in a year.
I mean, see, that's where, like, for example, McLaren builds a really cool car, but they screwed up. They built too many. You know, McLarens are neat, but you can buy a new McLaren coupe for 100 grand off MSRP right now, one that's a year old. And a 458 right now, a used 458 is still bringing MSRP. So, you know, that tells you how that affects things greatly. You know, McLaren didn't build that brand. They didn't build that mystique, you know. And you look at other brands, Ferrari likes to liken themselves. You know, you look at brands like Louis Vuitton, you know, brands like that, you know, there is a mystique about what's available, what isn't available. Oh, no problem. You know, what's available, what isn't available, and they only, you know, build just enough or make just enough.
Or one less.
Less, yes, exactly.
That's so funny, one less. But the problem is if they open up into China, then their concentration of cars in the U.S. will go down.
Well,
we're going
to go up here and then we're going to take a left.
So even though, because the 7,000 idea is to keep the input into the universe at the same concentration.
Right, but the problem, you can't just move the cars around the world, though. So, like, a car sold into China can't come back here into the U.S. So that's stuck in that market at that point.
Right, but if you're going to limit it to 7,000 and
right,
you want another 1,000 in California,
that's why they want to adjust that number. That's why Sergio wanted the ability to adjust that number, because he said 7,000 is a silly number to say we're going to lock in at that number, because when we go into emerging markets or we open a new market and we've got to put cars into that market, we can't take cars from another market to do that. So.
Does it accelerate faster?
It is such a beautiful car to drive.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep going back to the Porsche comparison. It's not a fair comparison, but it just is such a nicer car to drive than a 911.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I would hope you'd say that, because I mean, it theoretically should be. You know what I mean?
Well, sure, but
just the ride quality, the comfort.
That's what I mean. Just the usability. It feels much more usable to me. Not to mention that as a car, it's just absolutely gorgeous. So you know how Lamborghini came out with that weird looking SUV?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's
Ferrari
not on the market yet.
The fucking Lamborghini's not on the market yet?
The Urus, no. That thing, they've been hawking that around for a while, because I was at Pebble Beach 3 years ago when Winkleman unveiled that thing. I was at the Monterey Jet Center when they unveiled that thing. They've been trying to get that built for a long time. The problem is Lamborghini doesn't make a ton of money for Volkswagen. And so to develop that thing is going to cost a pile of money. And
so it hasn't even been in production yet.
It's not even been approved for production. And the interesting part of it is it's really the basis for that thing is going to be the Porsche Cayenne.
Meaning the frame and...
The frame and chassis and everything will be a Porsche Cayenne. Because the Porsche Cayenne, the Volkswagen Touareg, and then Bentley's looking at doing one. All of those vehicles, if they all come together beyond the two that are there already, would be based... And the Audi A7, they're all based off of the Touareg/Cayenne.
Even the Audi A7 is?
Yeah.
It's like the Escalade and all the other GMC
the
cars.
The GMC and the Chevrolet, they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, Cadillac, it's an interesting thing. The Escalade somehow really... have you driven all those different cars?
I've driven them many times.
The Escalade really, I don't know if I'm making this up, but it drives so differently to me than a Suburban does.
Well, there's now, they're all the same chassis, but there's huge powertrain and transmission differences between all of them.
Okay, so what should explain?
Yeah, because the Cadillac gets a completely different displacement engine, and up until a certain point, was the only one that had like an 8-speed transmission. There was a lot of differences there. So,
I mean, my wife's Escalade drives beautifully.
Yeah.
I love driving that car.
Oh, they're fantastic. I've owned I don't know how many Suburbans and Tahoes and Escalades, and I've got to say it's one of those vehicles where if you go on a road trip, you can drive that thing all day.
Yeah.
They're just amazing.
Yeah. So. Okay, so I'll keep this until next year, and then I'll call you this car.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have people that ask you to call them when things get traded in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are there a lot of people that ask you that?
Yeah. Yeah, we have between the four of us, we have, a list of clients that are always looking for things. Like, for example, and it becomes a race sometimes. I had a guy that had a couple of cars he had to get rid of. He called me, says, hey, I got rid of the cars. Here's what I want. I want a 360 or a 430 Spider, so the convertible, with a gated manual transmission.
And you're like, how are you going to find that?
I'm like, it's a rare car, okay?
And he wants it used?
Yeah, used, right.
What the heck? So are you talking to guys in Florida to have it shipped over here from Florida?
No, we have local clients, though, that get rid of cars,
Okay.
trade off, this, whatever. So, sure enough, 20 days later, the unicorn shows up. I get a 6,000-mile, 2005 360 Spider, red over tan, with a manual transmission.
And the guy sent you a box.
So I called the guy and I said, here's the deal. Every one of us has got clients looking for this exact car.
You gotta buy it right now.
I said, it's whoever gets here first and whoever pays for it first gets the car. And the guy was in Bend, right? He says, I'll be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. He was on my doorstep at 9 o'clock in the morning. By 10 o'clock, he'd written a check and paid for the car.
Well, the thing with that situation is, too, is you're going to tell him what he's going to pay for the car. But every Ferrari's like that, right?
Within reason. I mean, the used ones, depending, when they get to that age, a lot of the market value on those depends on how they were ordered, what color they are, and, what options, and then the condition is huge. So, this car didn't have any visible issues. There was nothing wrong with it, but, yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things. He showed up, took it for a quick drive, and was like, I'm done.
I got it.
I'll buy it. So, and the rest of the salespeople are at that point scowling at me, going, because their customers that they all called, who they were waiting to get there, they now had to call them and go, guess what? Next time, it's sold.
So how many Californias would you sell a year out of your dealership?
Probably 15 to 18. Something.
And again, from the day I wanted to do it, it would be kind of like what, 9 months?
That would be a rough estimate. Yeah, 6 to 9 months. It just really depends.
Gosh, the lease payment on a car that's 220 is going to have to be close to $3,000
I think
a month.
it's 20% down, and it's somewhere around $3K a month. You're pretty darn close.
So the 20% down you lose when you turn the lease in?
Well, no, it just is put down. It's just.
Oh, no, you're just prepaying the lease.
Prepaying some of the payment.
Yeah.
But Ferrari's very funny on down payment. They like down payment.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, do you say that meaning that's why they require it for a lease?
Well, that they don't require it, but that's how they quote everything, and that's kind of what they expect. And to be honest with you, I mean, most of the clients don't have a problem with it because to order the car, you have to put a $20,000 deposit down anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's by that point, you know, 6 months later, that money's already put down. It's kind of, you just roll that as a down payment on the car. And,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of go with it.
So, do you know much about? So, the residual value of a Ferrari's got to be through the roof.
It's actually very conservative, and that's what's nice is that, you know, the residual's not ridiculously high.
But to make the lease better for Ferrari, the residual value would be low.
Right, that's what I mean. It's very conservative.
So it's low value.
It's not as high as you would think.
But if I
and they don't have to do it because basically where you see artificially inflated residuals, okay, where like for example Audi is very big on it, Mercedes-Benz, what they'll do is they'll artificially increase the residual value to lower the payment to sell cars. Ferrari doesn't need to do that.
Correct.
So basically they're going to set the, you can just stay in this lane goes all the way through. They'll set the residual value to what they want it to be so that it makes sense. The idea is you lease one of these though, the residuals to a point where you'll turn the car back in at the end, you can make money on the car.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Because you've prayed it down lower than what the actual value is really going to end up being.
Correct.
So they're not going. Ferrari's not going to put themselves in a position to risk losing anything at the end.
Because when you sell that many cars, you don't. That's just not what they're.
It's not what they're about.
Yeah.
So it's not a volume thing where, like for example, Audi or BMW all of a sudden says, or Volkswagen or whatever, we've got to move X number of these. So the easiest way to do it is advertise a $299 a month lease payment. And so what we do is we put the residual up to 70% in 3 years, which is so completely unrealistic.
But then they lose money on the other end.
Well, that's the short-sightedness of it. That's what got the auto industry into all the problems before, was that everybody was artificially inflating residuals to keep the whole thing going. And so when you get to that point, yes, it's an ugly hamster wheel basically that you get on.
But they pay for it. Because they're in cars they can't unload.
But Audi, on the other hand, of the ones that does it, Audi is very smart in the sense that what they do is they require, if you, as a dealer, lease X number of cars, 70 or 80% of those you're required to buy back at the end of the lease at the residual value. So that keeps those values up.
Okay, this is the coolest car I've ever driven in my life, and I thought my Tesla was pretty cool.
But you see how easy it is to drive?
Oh, totally. This is a car you could drive every day, no problem.
Yeah, it's not a challenge to drive. It's not something that you got to sit there and just constantly
you don't
think
wrestle.
about.
You can drive one-handed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I've been on Sport, right?
Yeah.
This is the button here.
Yep. And that's for bumpy road. You can adjust it.
So it still says Sport up top.
Right. It's in Sport because we're in Sport here, but then you can go to Comfort there, and that'll just change the shift even.
And this changes the shift to be more smooth, right?
Yeah. Slows down the shift speed.
This is seriously the coolest car I've ever seen in my life.
It's fun, huh?
Oh, are you kidding me? We talked to that guy earlier.
Did you?
Yeah. But it's like, you know, my car, if there's a flake of snow on the ground, it stays in the garage.
Yeah.
How does it do in water?
Oh, well, you can drive this car in the rain. It's not a big deal.
No, I mean, so like when it gets really wet here, my car has so much torque on the back wheels that I can't step on.
Well, this has got the traction control and everything. You just got to be careful.
Be smart.
Yeah. And it's got, you know, a summer performance tire on it, so.
Okay, so if I built one of these out and I was modest in what I upgraded, how much would it be new?
Well, that gray one's probably a good example. I mean, you could probably keep a car under 215-ish, you know, because I think that one was 212. So
this is the upgrades here that wouldn't have is the carbon fiber.
Yeah, you would stay away from that. You wouldn't get this. I mean, realistically, what you're talking about is more of a standard. And we can go look at that car again, so you can kind of see what this stuff looks like, not upgraded. And it's still very, very nice. You know what I mean? It just this is one of the areas where Ferrari makes a pile of money, is these options they charge. You know, like to this thing right here in carbon fiber, this bridge is like $4,000. So
that's where they're making their margin.
That's where they make their high margins. Yeah. And Porsche does the exact same thing. You go through a Porsche and say, hey, you can get everything from stereo knobs to every little piece covered in leather in a Porsche.
But you're gonna get
killed. Buried.
You have to get this same response to anybody who drives a Ferrari for the first time, right?
Oh yeah, no, everybody's got giddy
freak
like
out.
it. I mean,
It's
you know,
like-
if you weren't, I'd be worried.
It's like unbelievable.
You know, if you weren't giddy like a school kid, I'd be worried because that just tells me that that's not the right car for you.
And the this is not even a fair thing. So hold on, I'm going to figure this out. So I got to do
You pull the 2 paddles in,
it's
goes to neutral,
now.
and then just pull the parking brake.
Hold,
There you go.
and then
you just turn the key off.
oh, okay.
It sets itself, and then it'll ding and tell you, there you go, that you can pull the key out. You just turn it back one more, and it'll no, all the way back. There you go.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. How does that Maserati coupe compare to this? I mean, it's not in the same category.
It's a little bit different. I mean,
obviously.
yeah, obviously. Still a very nice driving car. A lot of the similarities that you found in the drive of this. This is going to be a little bit nicer ride quality because it's got magnetic ride suspension and a few other things that the Maserati doesn't. But that's what you're getting for that cost difference, you know.
Yeah, that's the coolest car I've ever driven in my life.
Oh my gosh.
They are. Let's go look at that one in the showroom.